What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 251 of The Ball is Round. Good evening. It's a Monday night. We're going to have a loaded show tonight. So, in tonight's show, preseason is officially in the rear view mirror for CF Montreal. They head into the first match of the season, and the Montreal Roses are officially back on the pitch. Let's kick this thing off. As always, I'm not doing this alone. I'm joined by my good friend, my partner in crime, the man who never taps out straight out of the square circle. And it's Greg Corbiata. No, I'm not gonna stop. I'm not gonna stop.
The
I don't.
wrestling has gone too far.
I'm not gonna stop.
This is unacceptable.
He said it once, and we're going with it.
No,
How you
no,
doing, man?
this is ridiculous. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Long time no see.
Don't see.
Of course, Andy and I did see each other at Roses FC's first training camp
That was
session,
my
which we'll
alter
talk
ego.
about a
Don't
bit
link
later.
me with that guy. He's separate person.
Yeah, that guy's super problematic. I honestly don't want to be seen in public with him again. But nevertheless, we will talk about training camp in the second portion of this show. But I'm doing good. I'm excited. There's always a buzz in the air, positive or not, whenever CF Montreal season starts. That's most just because the off season is so long that you kind of you detox a little bit. You go through withdrawal, and now you're kind of like, oh my god, I missed the pain. So bring on the pain.
You know what? I think we've just been in this mental moment right now where we're just kind of relaxed and waiting for the next news and all that. No, we're not really assigning here, assigning there, which is always exciting, or maybe like a player gets released. And we've been talking about it throughout the offseason because we promised our listeners that we would be here regardless if we were winning or losing or off season. We were gonna be here and we're gonna talk about all Montreal sports. But Alex, I feel it. I feel it like it's coming. Week 1 is about to happen, and once that first game finishes, we have no idea what we're getting ourselves into because it's going to be a long season. And I don't mean good or bad. We're going to talk into detail about all that, but I'm talking about like the press conferences, the mid-season press conferences, the weeks where there's 3 games, and now Elias, and now this show we cover all 3 teams. So all 3 teams of Montreal. So it's going to be even more games and more. And I'm in no way, shape, or form complaining about it. But it's one of those things that I can see it's coming. And I can see
So it's important to remember this time a year ago, everyone was super excited about what year 2 under Laurent Courtois was going to look like.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, it's important to kind of have perspective on how quickly things can go sour, how quickly things can change. So, hopefully that's not the case this season. Hopefully Marco Donadel lasts more than a month. Hopefully he lasts the entire season, actually. But then again, when it comes to this club, when it comes to this wacky league that we live in, you never really know.
And we've been, we've gone in this show through the good or the bad of the signings and all that, but nothing beats having your coach getting fired after 5 games. I've been on other pods. Both of us have been on other pods talking about, and usually the first question that they ask is, can you summarize CF Montreal's 2025 season in 30 seconds? And I say, where the hell do I start? They fired their coach after 5 games. Like, let's just start with that, and then we can go on. And then there was a letter in the middle of the season that was let out claiming a rebuild. Then there was all kinds of injury. Their co-captain is traded to another team. What are we even talking about right now? It's a crazy 2025 season. So to me, and I've also said this in other pods, 2026 has to be, I forget the word has to, it will be better. Not because I have fake hope or it just, to me, in my mind, Elias, it can't get any worse than it did in 2025. Like it really
can. Oh, it can. Never say
we
that.
laugh to not cry.
They didn't even finish in last place. They didn't even finish anywhere near last place. It can get so much worse.
Anyways, it was just it was a hard season, a difficult season at that, and we were there throughout it. And we're going to be through this one too. Okay, let's get right into it. Okay, so CF Montreal finishes off preseason in Florida with one last tune-up on Valentine's Day against the Tampa Bay Rowdies, the USL's Tampa Bay Rowdies, and it ends level. Before we get into the lineups, how are you feeling about the result?
Oh, disastrous. Fire the coach.
And there goes the show.
If I said Sasana Coupe after they win 2-1, then I have to say you fire everybody if they lose, right? That's
put out another letter because the first one didn't work.
Put out another letter. Yeah, exactly. No, in all honesty, I don't love that they lost after 90 minutes to a USL team. I mean, they ended up pulling it back two pretty good goals. Um, with two pretty good goals in the whatever in the extra time period, which is nice. Again, that means all five preseason games they were not shut out. They were in danger of being shut out for the first time against a USL team of all things. But no, which again, our biggest complaint last season was the lack of goals and how scoring goals was like pulling teeth. Well, they're scoring goals, right? They're not necessarily the prettiest goals, or we don't even know what half the goals look like because they're not streamed. The games aren't streamed, but they are in fact goals. They're legal goals counted by a referee. So from that, I can only deduce that some things are getting better, right? You take it. We have to take it with a grain of salt, but it's better than nothing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as you mentioned, the fact that not only are they scoring goals, but they're coming from behind because apparently they were behind 2-0, and then they came back an extra time to tie
They're
it up.
behind against the Revs too, and the Union.
Exactly, and they came back. So that's kind of been the
Sensing a
theme that we
theme.
did see throughout the season of Donadel's. Sorry,
I'm sensing a theme.
there's a theme of last year when Donadel's um, when Donadell took over, one of the things that was common with this team was that they would always come back. They never stopped fighting for Donadell, and that was really really cool to see. But why do you put yourselves in that position? That's a question that needs to be asked. Why does CF Montreal keep putting themselves in a position where they had to fight back? Or from what I heard, I think that Adele was got a red card again in this preseason game against the Union, which
Sent
is
off in a preseason. I fucking love it, man.
I
Sent off in a
don't.
preseason game. This shit means something to me. That's what I'm talking. This is football heritage. I love it.
Look,
I
I
love
when I was on CanFC with Pat Bernier, I had mentioned that one of the most important things as a coach is to be present in the game. Even if you're not playing and you're not kicking the ball, you are still the voice leading these men. And if you're, being a dumbass and getting yourself kicked out of a game for a call or whatever, um, at some point the players notice, and that some people may love that approach. I mean, we've seen it in the highest levels of football being coaches getting kicked out because they're so fiery. But at some point, it becomes a liability when you're getting your assistant coach is starting to coach more games than you or finishing games for you because you keep getting sent off. So we talked about, and the reason why I mentioned Pat Bernier because Pat Bernier is a former Montreal Impact player, and he would say how when he played with under Chalibom also spent a lot of time off the bench because he would get himself constantly red carded, and he would say that it is absolutely true that the coach being there is one of the most important things
absolutely.
because it's what they talk about all week and they discuss tactics and all that, and if he's not there, then what guarantees that the message is getting through with the next guy,
Okay.
so
I don't know exactly what minute he got sent off in. If he gets sent off in like the first half or the first hour, then you're absolutely right because I absolutely agree. If he gets sent off in the 85th minute, I don't really care. I
that
mean, by that time, there's nothing the coach really can do, in terms of affecting the game. Or there's a lot less he can do. Right, he can always do something, but I don't know, man. We've talked about this on the pod before. I can't get enough of coaches that wear their hearts on their sleeves, especially when you have refing that is as eclectic as it is in MLS.
stop blaming the refs. I'm gonna wear a
I'm
shirt.
not
Stop
blame. I'm
blaming the
not blame.
refs.
First of all, that's like basically being like pro cop, which is kind of whack. But
What the hell?
but
Go refs.
we're not gonna get into that. But I don't know, man. Like I again, this is also a player's perspective, right? But you also want a coach that's going to fight for you,
Yeah.
right? And so and if Donadell, who I feel like has done a lot of man managing last season to kind of get the team on his side, to get the locker room on his side, if the players are see that he's not just talking about being a unit, but he himself is also doing it when the game demands it or when he doesn't like it, then I'm all for. Again, I don't want him getting suspended every 3 games because he picks up 1 yellow card per game. I don't want him getting sent off 15, 20 minutes into the game, and then you have to kind of scramble with an assistant coach who's not necessarily prepared to be in that position. Like that obviously is not good, and that's an actual problem. But a coach that gets yellow card once a month, even
And
twice a month, you know what? If it's what is needed to get the locker room behind you and get the players to get fired up, then it's honestly a totally fine sacrifice.
I don't disagree with you in that sense, but I look. You mentioned it. You said Donadell last year did a lot of man management. Donadell did a lot of things last year. He did too many things in the sense that he literally wanted to do everything. So that the moment he was gone off the sideline, nobody knew what to do because he did everything. And once you take him out of the equation, you have David Sauvry who clearly got his job taken over because Marco Donadell wanted to do everything, and it's one of those things that hopefully in 2026, where he's getting his staff, his guys that understand his methods, can actually understand a little bit what Marco Donadell's trying to do by what he tried to do last year, where he tried to do everything pretty much. So let's go ahead and look into the lineups of Tampa Bay Rowdies to see what we lined up. So at goal we had Thomas Gillier. Then we had and as defenders we had Efrain Morales, Tomas Aviles, and Brian Vera, which we'll talk about, but that looks awfully like a three back, which we said that last week. Then there was Bodie Hidalgo, Dorga Torholson, Victor Lotori, Noah Streit, Oger Escobar, and Henari Sinchuk, Prince Owusu on the top. So, what do you make out of this lineup?
See, when I saw Morales, Aviles, and Vera together, I'm like, ooh, back three. But then I saw Hidalgo, Torhalson. I'm like, okay, that looks like wingbacks if I've ever seen them. But I saw Luturi alone. And like, it's not a 5-1-4. Shout out Montreal. But the formation is not going to be like a 5-1-4, you know? So I thought to myself, like, or a 3-3-1, like, there's no way they're actually going to play a 3-3-1. So look, Victor Luturi runs a lot. He does not run for three players. So I thought, maybe is this the case of Dangar Torhausen playing in the midfield and Vera is playing at left back? Um, Again, this would all be much more convenient with a stream to confirm my hypothesis.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, we don't have access to it, so we are just kind of throwing gum at the wall and seeing what sticks. But I think that it's still a 4-2-3-1 with Torhausen playing in the midfield next to Laturi. We will never know. That has been lost to the annals of time. Unfortunately, we could not, like we did last year, we could not bring in our good friend from Tampa who assisted the game because it was on Valentine's Day, and he has a life and a partner and a will to
Why
live
do we have to love
and a will
people
to
on
live.
Valentine's Day?
Exactly. So we don't have any kind of inside scoop for you guys about the actual game in and of itself. We
Yeah.
can just speculate wildly and look at the two goals they scored. But it looks like Streit, Escobar, and Sinchuk are that attacking three playing behind Owusu, which doesn't confirm the fact that even though Streit played a lot on the right in Europe, in Switzerland, he's going to be playing on the left with CF Montreal, given that he is a righty and Marco Nadal loves his wingers that can cut into their strong foot on their off wing. So I see it as a 4-2-3-1 with Torhelson kind of, again, being his Icelandic army knife, doing something new once again. But I don't know. I would have been curious to see if it was a three back to see how it would have gone. But, there's no Victor Torres on his own.
Look, I mean, in paper, it looks like it is a three back, and you can ask a million questions about the midfield because it is kind of a weird setup with Hidalgo, Torres, and Lutori there. And Strike, I don't think he's a midfielder, but we do know that Marco Donadel does like to players playing multiple positions. We've seen it over and over again. So this could be a thing where he's just kind of putting players in paper that way, but it could look completely different. Again, as Eli said, we unfortunately don't have any streaming or video or anybody that was at the game that could actually give us a clear answer as to what it looked like. But that's why we have week one coming up. No more questions.
Week one.
Things
We're
are gonna
so
be clear as
bad.
day. And now you only need an Apple
Oh my god.
subscription for 14. I'm not gonna say the price. I don't know what it is, but the point is, it's coming up, and we don't have to make theories in our head and hope for the best. No, we will be watching the game. We'll be there, and we will fully analyze every movement that is going through every game. So, CF Montreal's preseason ends with a little bit of everything: wins, draws, and losses. Are you feeling encouraged by what you saw, Elias, or are there still some red flags heading into match day one?
I don't know about red flags necessarily. There are issues of concern. So it's more like a pink flag. Yeah, it's more. It's a little concerning.
Introduce the pink flag.
It is the fact that they've gone down first most of the time in these preseason games, and they've managed to fight back, but that's also preseason when you're trying a bunch of stuff. It's not your best 11 against the other team's best 11. So it is going to be kind of tricky. The second one is based on, again, these lineups we've seen. There's a lot of positions that are still up in the air. There's a lot of people still fighting for spots. Again, we talked about people like Gilly, people like Owusu, people like Loturi that are locks for their spots. That, no matter what they have been kind of on the starting 11, everyone else has kind of ebbed and flowed. So I have, again, this could also be, this is only what we've seen on the surface, and the rotations in the game might look different, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of repetition, which is one of the things that we were concerned about last season because of either through injury or performance. The starting 11 was always different. We didn't really get a consensus starting 11 last season, and I hope that's not the case again this year. Uh, there's a lot of depth and there's a lot of competition, but you still need continuity if you want your team to improve. So those are the two things that I hope I see more of, or I see improvements on, are definitely continuity, especially when you have a lot of road games at the same time in a row where the game plan is going to be more or less the same. So hopefully we see some similar starting 11s, and then of course a bit more defensive solidity. And we'll get into like our starting 11s for week one in a bit, but those are my two things that maybe concern me a bit. But again, nothing glaring like, oh my god, red alert, it's the end of the world. But there is definitely stuff to for your brow about.
I do have a red flag now that I'm a little concerned about because
So negative all the
I'm
time. I can't
listen
fucking
to
deal
me.
with you.
Listen, I'm on vacation. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a damn. But anyways, I think there is a red flag in the sense that yes, I'm feeling encouraged. There's two sides to this coin. Okay, I'm feeling encouraged that, as you mentioned, there's a lot of competition in very important positions such as the midfielding and attacking. There's a lot of new players and a lot of new competition. But I'm still concerned about the depth in the right back and left back. Yes, in the right back you have Bodi Hidalgo and you have David Bugai. Those are really good players, and that Dagor Torhansen can even play there. Left back position though, there's not a lot of depth, and there's not a lot of proven players that can play. Get me back a Raheem Edwards. Raheem Edwards is about to get cut by, if he didn't already get cut by the New York Red Bulls. I'm not saying he's the perfect left back either. He had his issues with Montreal in his two stints with Montreal. But give me a player like him that is a solid defensive left back that can bring depth and bring something to the game. Especially as you mentioned, those heavy months where they're going to need important players. So um, that's what's concerning to me heading into week one is what are we doing about that left back position? Because right now, as it stands today, Alex Kuboglu hasn't proved to me that he can be that guy that can play that position all the time. I find that his gap between his offensive capability to his defensive capability is very big. Now is he going? Can he improve? 100%. He's so young, he can improve. But for now, I don't think he's a starting caliber left back for this team. If we want to see the best of a left winger like Ivan Jaime or Noah Street, that's where I'm at. But again, I like the competition. I do like to see that, something that we can't say was there last year, in my opinion, based on some of the
You're
players that
100% right. There was one left back last season, and his name was Luca Petrasso. That's it.
they.
But if you'll allow me to put my tinfoil hat on, I disagree. I think they've got three left backs on the team right now. I would argue they even have four if you include
Oh,
Brian Vera's ability to play on the left in a pinch. But we've seen it time and time again. Dangor Torhalsen is going to play again. I will be shocked if Saturday rolls around and Dangor Torhalsen is not the starting left back, because we've been over this. Right-footed left backs are Marco Donadell's MO. Now, if you have someone like Luca Petrasso, or if you have someone like Brian Vera, who you push into the left back position as a natural left back, if you need some kind of switch in profile during the game, that's good to have in your back pocket. You can't just have a one kind of profile on the bench because that's the same as your starter, because then you're stuck in a box, which is one of my, which actually, you know what? I found another concern, the striker position, because you have Prince Owusu, who is there. You have Danny Rios, who is there, but the exact same profile. Then you have Owen Graham Roche and Sanusi Ibrahim, who are not at the level yet.
Way down there.
There's only so much frame on my screen, man.
Down
So,
there.
so that also is a bit of concern. But we're talking about the left back position right now. I'd say they have like four, but you're right in the fact that if we're talking about conventional quote unquote left
proven,
backs,
proven
Dango
left
Torkelson is a
backs.
proven fullback.
Right back. Don't
Is a proven
get.
fullback.
All right, relax, bro.
Nah, the
Don't. No,
skills are
no. You know,
transferable. The skills are transferable. I have
this is
all the
not
faith.
FIFA where you can just put one to the next.
I
No.
don't play FIFA anymore. I've unhooked from the mainframe. I'm
There you
free.
go.
But we're not
There
going to
you-
talk about my FIFA either. What we are going to talk about is I think that the left back position is honestly the healthiest it's been in years.
Yes.
I'm talking about like in down well near a decade. This is the healthiest left back position has been in. Now, again, we don't know from an actual performance standpoint what it's going to look like because it could fall flat on its face. But in terms of a depth position, it is the fullest it's been. I can't remember the last time there were this many players that were occupying the role of left back. Because I don't see Alexander Guboglu playing right back anytime this year because I don't think he's getting minutes over Bugai and Hidalgo and then Torhalson, who can also play right back. He's not. So his only way to get minutes is left back.
You know why? I'm gonna say why it's so healthy now as opposed to previous years. Because Bologna FC got involved. And nobody will say it, but I will. Bologna FC got involved with the
But
medical.
who's the Bologna left back? It's all
No,
MLS
I'm
guys.
talking the medical aspect, the physical
Ah,
aspect, all that.
I didn't even mean
Forget that.
health
No,
that
that.
way. I meant healthy as just in like not one guy.
I know what you said. I know what you meant, but I had to throw it in there. All right, so
That's
let's
fair.
move on from
That is
that
very
topic.
fair.
No, because we're throwing in pink flags, red flags, blue flags, all kind of flags today, except the white flag. We are not giving up yet. So big picture after everything
Keyword is yet.
we'll get there in the month of May. Big picture after everything we've seen so far. Do you think CF Montreal are trending up, trending down, or staying level compared to 2025?
About 10 days ago, not 10 days ago, about 9 days ago, I would have told you they're trending, they're plateauing, which was one of my big concerns. But they brought in two players, which is Wiki Carmona and Noah Strite, which instantly addressed big concerns that we both had, that everybody had about the lack of depth going forward. You bring in a very promising MLS experienced number 10 who can also play wide. And then you bring in a very interesting profile from Europe to kind of play off of or behind Ivan Jaime on the left, who has proven that he can also play across a front three. If you need to throw him striker, if you need to throw him on the right, he can do it. Because remember, right, we talked about how there was no replacement for Ivan Jaime. There's also no replacement for Hennady Sincho.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have Wiki Carmona, who's a left-footed, very talented player who can play on the right, has not done too well at the right. He's much better in the 10 position. He scored in the 10 position in the preseason game against the Union, but he can be there. And Noah Strite, who's proven that he could be very effective on both sides of the field. So now, again, when I say trending upwards, ça sent pas la coupe. Let's be honest here, right? A joke is a joke.
Ignore our tweets from 2 weeks ago.
Never ignore our tweets. It's gospel. But in all honesty, right? Like we're not talking about like top four here. But when I say trending upwards, I mean like this team right now, as is, can absolutely compete for the play.
Mm-hmm.
They stay healthy, they stay motivated, they stay focused on the task at hand, and Marco Donadel's tactics take root. This team can absolutely stay. Again, those are humongous ifs and unproven ifs because we have not seen a healthy CF Montreal for more than like 2 months in like a decade. But it's trending upwards in that I see them competing for the play-in next season. Absolutely. They're starting the season fully healthy. Jalen Neal was on the bench against the Rowdies. The only player that's absolutely out right now, I believe, is Luca Petrasso because he's on his way back. So that is fantastic news. Now it's about staying in that zone, right?
Elias, why was Jalen Lee on the bench against the Rockies?
Because he hasn't been fit in like a
Elias,
month.
tell me the truth. Why was Jalen Lee on the bench?
They're not shopping him. He hasn't
All
been
right.
fit in a month.
So I
Stop being annoying.
they're shopping him. Listen,
Oh my
my
god,
I
you.
think I think that they are trending up, and I'm not saying that they are going to be much better. I'm not saying they're going to be much worse. I think that they're the way that they address their problems visibly. As you mentioned, there were two players
Yeah,
that they brought in, which were necessities, but also the departures. And we talked about it on this pod excessively. Every time there was a departure, the
yeah.
departures
People that had
that
to go,
left, they had to go. They
except
were
for Dante
not,
Sealy, R.I.P. Dante Sealy. But
but
everyone
he
else, absolutely, you're right.
that was a win. That again, and we and they. I've gone on other pods and they've also asked like, but what about Dante Sealy? It's like people forget. People
It's too
forget about how he
really
was.
man. You can't say no to that.
Yeah, like it's just they literally made us an offer we couldn't refuse. So
Hmm.
it's a thing that I think they address the debt, as we mentioned, and that they probably did a lot of planning of like plan A, plan B, plan C, like we saw in the month of May, and a lot of situations. It's not going to be a perfect season. There's still a lot of work to be done, but their message is clear. They're addressing a lot of things. Now, Pat tells us the expert said 14th or 15th. This will be the case until they make the playoffs a few seasons in a row. You're absolutely right, Patrick. They haven't proven anything. All our signings
But
could be a complete failure.
I mean, at the same time, fork found in kitchen. Like when was the last time the experts, put Montreal out inside the top 10 at the
Yeah,
beginning of the
and
season?
the experts were
Right.
really hyped up. The reality of it is, the experts were really hyped up about CF Montreal when they got Joseph Martinez, when they got Giacomo Vrioni. They were hyped up. They said these are excellent players. They just need a second chance. What happens? They get injured. Season to the trash.
So yeah,
You know.
14th or 15th. I mean, if they actually look at the offseason and expect CF Montreal to take a step backwards, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Right? If they said, if I saw a bunch of 13s and 12s and 11s, I would have said fair. 14 and 15, I mean, you're kind of just that's just MLS kind of going, ah, Montreal, pencil them in for 14 and 15 and move on to someone we care about. Because it's clear, I mean, MLS hasn't cared about Montreal
A long
since
time.
Drogba. Yeah, actually, well, so I think when we had Drogba, yeah, that was the last time MLS actually cared about Montreal. Hell, I mean, they come 2 points away from the supporter shield, and all anyone could talk about is Philly and LA. So I mean, nobody really ever takes Montreal seriously, which I guess why the club has a bit of a chip on its shoulder. But 14 or 15, I'm not too surprised. Every year it comes down, it's the same kind of thing. So
And I will say this as well. It's not all CF Montreal's fault. It's not CF Montreal that is avoiding, you know, getting this kind of exposure from the rest of the MLS and all that. We're talking about being predicted, the experts. But if the experts knew a little bit more in depth, but it happens every time. I was actually on the Soccer Wise podcast this week with David Gaz, and he also told me honestly, we cover so many teams that CF Montreal really isn't in our top of the list, and that's fine
exactly.
because they're
People
no
look where they
Seattle
finished last
Sounders.
year. They look at the total wage bill and they go, "Oh, they're going to be the same."
Yeah, yeah. Numbers wise, it looks terrible. But if you covered a team like you and I do, Elias, and other podcasts do as well, you understand that there is something getting built here. Is
Yeah,
it going to be perfect? We don't know, but there is. We will say in this show that we believe they are trending up. It's a little bit more exciting than I say I was in 2025. And in 2025, I was excited about the trialists, but they still had proven nothing. And they were just trialists. So again, throwaways from other teams, and it took them a little bit to prove themselves their worth with CF Montreal. But we can definitely say that I think they're trending up for next year. So let's look. We like to do right before the season starts. We're 1 week away. We do like to do our picks here. So Elias,
mm.
if you could pick your CF Montreal MVP right now, and no, it depends. No, like maybes or what. No, who's your Montreal MVP right now at the end of the season? Who's the guy carrying this team in 2026?
Well, it depends, but maybe no. Right now, it's got to be Prince Owusu. It's
100%.
got to be Prince Owusu. He looks just as locked in as he did last season. When you watch him play, he plays the exact same way. He's finishing. He looks more concise. He looks more comfortable with everyone around him. Everything that he ended the season with looks to have stayed and grown. So I think Prince Owusu, Pat saying Ivan Jaime, I hope he needs to be. Absolutely, I expect Ivan Jaime to be up there as well. But I think I think a Prince Owusu MVP season is more important than an Ivan Jaime MVP season.
Yeah, because what is an
Because
MVP? An MVP is not somebody that scores 15 goals in a season. There's so much more than that. Prince Owusu
exactly.
last year got
He
booed at
he,
Saputo
he,
Stadium.
he but he not just he leads the line on the press. He brings everyone up with him. He's also he is the
And
second
he has,
captain.
yeah,
He's the second captain when Samuel Pierre is not out there, right? Even Jaime, I think, again, humongous if he stays fit, will absolutely be in the running for MVP. But you know that that is also entirely requiring on stuff that has not necessarily been proven yet. So unfortunately, I can't say no ifs ands or buts he's going to be MVP. I can't say that about Prince Owusu.
yeah. And the thing about Prince Owusu, never forget, because that's a mentality thing for Prince Owusu. Never forget that he was supposed to rest one game last year against the New England Revolution. I think it was the New England Revolution. Giacomo Vioni gets injured pre-game in stretches. And all of a sudden, Prince Owusu has to play
He's back.
90 minutes from having to rest. So, and I think he even scored a goal or two that game. So it's a mentality thing. That's I'm 100% agreeing
Mhm.
with you that Prince Owusu is going to be the MVP this season. No ifs or buts about it.
Yeah.
And Patrick says, sure, but Jaime is the key to our attack. Again, not
Yeah.
in our standard of MVP, it's not about who will be getting the most assists or the most. That's important, and that also deserves some kind of praise, maybe around the league or with a new contract if you want. But what Prince Owusu did for this team in 2025 and what he's doing so far in the preseason, he carries this team, and he is the kind of captain that this team needs. Yeah, Elias, I don't think he was always the most vocal in the field, but he talks through his play. And he literally leads the people. He is everything Marco Donadel wants in all of his players. He is so disciplined and at 100% all the time in any position. How many times did we see him go down from the striker position to the center back position because he saw void there? So anyways, that's my little rant on why Prince Owusu would be my MVP. Patrick says, I hope I'm wrong. But no, because the reason he says is Patrick says, let's be honest, Prince had a great 10-game sequence. The rest of the time he was meh at best. Again, you'd have to look at the context of the whole game. I mean, the guy was going. Remember that 6-0 game loss
Yeah,
against
he's making
Toronto?
everyone around him better.
He with a red card, he never stopped. He was the same engine. Again, he's not the most perfect player, but he is the MVP of this team by far for me. Okay, so who is getting way too much hype right now, Elias? And who's quietly been, so this is a two-part question, right? So who's getting too much hype right now, and who's quietly been one of the most important player that maybe nobody's talking about?
Too much hype is tough because there's no hype on the team right now. No, that's an exaggeration. But again, when you come off the season that you had, it's tough to have hype around anybody. Um, I don't want to say Ivan Jaime because he is that good, and when he's on the field, he's automatically the best player on the team. But what I do feel like is I feel like, and this is not just Pat's comment, but I feel like everywhere you see it, there are too many expectations being put on him right away.
Mm-hmm.
I think that obviously when he comes in, he's expected to be a designated player level player right away, but he's not the end all be all that's going to fix everything, right? He's not Messi. He's not going to come in and turn this into a supporter shield contender right away, you know, oh, based on sheer willpower. So I think that he's not necessarily getting too much hype, but there's definitely being too much asked of him because he's also being asked to do the work and do the kind of and have the kind of success that two designated players are expected to have because this team only has one designated player. So not necessarily too much hype, but definitely over what's the right word? Overly relied upon, I think, is Ivan Jaime.
Like
I
he's our
think
savior. He's the savior of this team.
I think what's best is to have him, you know, get become one with the flow of the offense, and then you'll get the best version of him, which will then elevate everybody else because he's that good. But expecting him to get like 40 goal contributions and lead this team to the playoffs is a bit high. Quietly, the player no one's talking about. I feel like we've been talking about him, but nobody else. It's Victor Latouri.
Mm.
It's Victor Latouri, man. He is the man in the midfield. He is next to Wusu and Julier is the only guaranteed starter on this team for me when he's fit. And I think that he's going to quietly become the second or third most important player on this team.
Yeah, well, look, I'll say my take. The one that I think is getting a little too much hype for me is Thomas Gillier, and I'll say why. Is because I do really like what he says, the messages he puts out on the press conferences, how passionate he is. I love that. But his play in the field, to me, has not proven that he was better than Jonathan Sirois when he was in this. I'm not saying Jonathan Sirois was great, but he had a lot of faults, and we talked a lot about it in this show. I was very critical of him as well. But they're talking about Thomas Gillier like being like the next best keeper this team has ever found. And I haven't seen it. I think we saw how many games, but I don't think he to me he hasn't proven anything that is worthy of a starter goalkeeper to the point that you have to loan out Emil Gazdov. The only thing that he is different from him is that he's on loan from Bologna, which you already know my opinion on players from Bologna. Um, and the player that maybe a little bit quiet. I agree with you. Victor Latour is one of them, but the one that maybe people aren't talking as much about because we're so focused on Ivan Jaime is the other side, Henadi Senchuk. Because we talked about it last week. Based on what we've seen, is he he's gotten bigger. He seems a lot more confident,
Yeah.
and I think he's going to make a hell of a difference. I saw his free kicks against Medalist. Godly, that
Perfect.
kid can
Yeah, no,
do
he's
can
delivering.
is really really good at set pieces. So I think he's the kind of player
I mean, who's gonna score now that Dante Seeley's not taking them, right?
that'll be the nice guy. So I really think he's going to be a player that not a lot of people are talking about right now because again the focus is on the other side because of the DP status, but is the U22 initiative of Henadi Central. I think he's going to be a big factor
Yeah,
this season.
yeah. I think a big step forward is in the running for him for sure. And I hope you're right because he, like you said, he's been looking more confident in the little training we've seen. He looks more confident in the little game footage we've seen. He looks more confident. So hopefully that translates to real MLS success because he definitely deserves it.
Yeah, and Pat says he stopped the penalty and Zero never did. Come on, man. Like, yes, he stopped the penalty. But I mean, penalties. I hate
Oh,
penalties,
Sebastian
especially.
Breza is once again a backup goalkeeper in MLS. So you know what? I'm happy about that.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Uh
We know how Heidi feels about it, but I'm happy. Thank you.
okay, so we're gonna finish with this. So now that the winter window looks mostly wrapped up a little bit, at least in the way we're seeing it, do you think Montreal has built a team that's ready to compete for week one? And we have our predicted lineups, right? But even if we have our predicted lineup, it doesn't necessarily mean that we feel that this is the strongest, you know, the one that is going to compete at the highest level with other MLS teams. Or do you feel like maybe they're holding out, hoping for a major summer signing? So let's go ahead and show Elias. We'll start with yours. Your predicted lineup for
Yeah.
2026.
It's very similar to some of the stuff we've seen in the offseason, in the preseason games. It's a back four, Buga at the right back, Morales and Brian Vera, I think, is a much more responsible and experienced pick over Aviles in as the two center backs. Gillier and Nets, of course. Torhalson at left back. I don't know if you've listened to the podcast before, but I do tend to like Dango Torhalson at left back. It's going to be a midfield duo of Victor Latouri and Matty Longstaff. I think Ivan Losenko has a shout to get into that midfield, but right now on the road with a lot of running and you're going to be, you know, conceding a lot of possession. I think having two players that are comfortable with one another is more important. Your middle three, playing behind Wusu is Sinchuk, Escobar, and Noah Strite, not Ivan Jaime. Ivan Jaime hasn't started a preseason game yet. I think he's going to be. I think he's going to get minutes. Absolutely. I think he might get half an hour in the second half. And I think Noah Strite right now is just more fit. He's in midseason form, and I think he is probably better suited to hit the ground running. And obviously, up top is the other guaranteed starter, is Prince Owusu. I think that's the starting 11 for San Diego. And in response to your question, they've absolutely built a team ready to compete on week one, right? And again, we're not talking about, again, this is important context. We're not talking about competing for the supporter shield. We're talking about putting together a competitive MLS team that is taken seriously and that's not getting beat up and has hard times winning 2 games at home. This is a competitive roster with serious players and astute additions to problem areas across the field. Right. So I think that they've done their job.
Okay. Now, if you can show my predicted lineup, so it's similar to yours, right? It's I have a Wolves on top, but I have even Jaime as a left winger. I really do think that they're going to try to get the most out of him contractually before they make a decision whether they're actually going to use the minutes to purchase him on a permanent transfer. Then I put Ojer Escobar as a 10, Hanadi Sinchuk as the right winger, Pietz and Latori as double pivot in the middle. Tor Hudson on the left back. I completely agree with you. I think that that's probably the best if not knowing when Petrosa will be back to full strength. Thomas Aviles and Efrain Morales. I really had a hard time. I had a hard time choosing the center backs. I don't know what the little I've seen from Thomas Aviles is that he still has a long way to go. So I don't know if they see him as a starter, but it does seem that they keep putting him as a starter. Um, can you just put it back? I just have the right back. I had David Bugay, and the goalie I had Thomas Gillier. And yes, to answer my own question, is this a lineup ready to compete in week one? To me, it's half a lineup, and that means the attack, the midfield to the attack. The back line, I feel that this lineup, this part of the lineup, they're holding back for the summer. Again, I've talked about it in this pod, and I said it 2 weeks ago. I think that CF Montreal's window is closed for now. I think that they are waiting for after the World Cup or the next transfer window to jump on the right opportunity. They don't want to make past decisions where they made desperate decisions of players desperate for a team. I think they will make a player that makes sense for them economically. Maybe again a loan option with a loan with a buy option, but um, I don't think it's a full squad. I think they will compete to a certain extent with teams, but I don't see them being the dominating team that many people might want to see from their team at the beginning of the season. It's going to take some time. I think a lot of these players have to develop, especially if we talk about Noah Stride. Uh, what about Lysenko? Ivan Lysenko, we haven't seen anything from him. We have no real analysis to see what kind of player he can be in this league or in this scheme. So there's a lot of question marks, but it's very interesting because again, it pushes everybody to their best performance because there's always somebody behind them, right? So that's very important. Yeah, man, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Just by the way, Pat, no, the game was not streamed. Um, it's, it just they don't the Rowdies didn't stream it, and CF Montreal hasn't streamed the game this season.
Everybody had
Um,
their lovers to go see in
we
Valentine's Day.
also got a question from CFM Data Zone. Predictions for Montreal San Diego Saturday. Andy, what say you?
1-1. 91st
Boo.
minute, CF Montreal scores a goal. What?
Boo.
What do
CF
you say?
Montreal is going to win. I actually think CF Montreal is going to win.
Have they done good in the West Coast? I haven't even seen how they've done it in the West Coast.
They haven't
They
been on the
got
West Coast in a hot minute,
hammered
but
against Seattle 5-0 2 years ago with Laurent Courtois' side.
that's like 3 coaches ago, man. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, like 2 years ago. Like, what are
Yeah,
we talking about?
they've signed and let go of like 40 players since then. That
Nah,
doesn't
man.
count.
We had a Nathan Saliba. We had a healthy Sam Piet.
I think this team is going to at least come out the gates surprising people. I think San Diego is in a weird spot right now with
With Bryce
not being
Duke as
able.
the backup.
Sorry,
With Bryce Duke as a backup.
I think they're in a very weird spot right now. You're kind of making my point for me there, but I think that Montreal is perfectly placed to cause a lot of headaches and kind of reap the benefit of those headaches. I think they're going to win. I think it's going to be a very close game, but I think a 2-1 win.
I think
And
it's going to.
I actually, for once, don't feel like I'm crazy for saying that.
I think we're gonna see a lot of clarity. There's gonna be a lot of clarity as to what they've been working on all season, what's improved, what's not improved, and maybe hopefully get more footage on players that we have a lot of questions about. So yeah, I say 1-1, but maybe a moral victory, for the fans,
1-1 is
saying we
absolutely a moral victory.
we like what we saw on the road, right? It's better than 2025. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Um,
We got one last question from Pat. I wouldn't be surprised if Brendan Craig starts this weekend just because the number of games Morales has played already. Would that be crazy? I don't know about number of games. I usually the starting 11 plays like 45 minutes. So again, he just came back from a lengthy injury where he was recovering in Bologna. I hope that, I mean, based on the amount of times he started, I would assume that's behind him. Again, this is all kind of operating blindly because we've seen a grand total of 2 games. But I think that he should be fine to start. Plus, he has a week off, right? Not a week off, but a week without a game between Saturday and Saturday. So physically, I don't think they have any concern if he's not actively injured.
Yeah, if this team can start Efrain Morales, they will at any cost. Not at any cost, as long as he's healthy. Because I believe Brandon Craig was brought into this club to be a backup. I don't believe he was
At
brought in
least for now, yeah.
to be a starter. I think he's a solid center back, but he fills in holes whenever it's needed. I don't think they ever pictured him being more than that. But that wraps it up for CF Montreal. If you're just a quick message to you guys, because I know we say it every week, and we absolutely love it that you guys actually listen to us. Elias, we've been seeing the increase in subscriptions and in the Patreon, in the Instagram, and every of our platforms. They've been increasing. So if you're listening right now and you're not subscribed, first of all, Elias, we're not mad. We're just a little bit
I'm mad.
disappointed.
Fuck is
Elias is
wrong with
always
you?
like, yeah, really, like he's in the wrestling, so
I'm
we he's
tweaking, man. What the hell is
yes.
this?
So go ahead and
Disrespect.
go ahead and smash that subscribe button to support the Ball is Around Montreal. It's free and it helps the show. And honestly, it's just the right thing to do. And while you're at it, make sure to follow us on all of our socials for daily updates, clips, and takes that probably should have stayed within us and not out here. I told you not to talk too much. Anyways, before we go on to our last subject, let's go ahead and show a quick clip of our sponsor. Hello, the Ball is Rounders. This show is sponsored by AR Design. I can tell you that in my case, as you can see in my background, I need some change. This is why I reached out to, wait, my wife reached out to Allison from AR Designs to bring some change in my space. You can't see it now, but over the next few weeks, this room is about to get a little funky with the way it looks. I thought Allison will come to my place and turn the place upside down right away. But before changing anything, she made sure to really understand what my vision was for our place and what budget we were working for. And based on that, she gave us some advice and some ideas as to what our place could look like in the future. And that's when we knew that we had reached out to the right person. Like a soccer team working together for the perfect goal, AR Interior Design coordinates every detail of your interior design project so your home comes together beautifully. From concept to final touches, Allison makes sure every element works in harmony. Visit ardesign.ca today to see her latest interior design project, or follow the links that you see below me on her Instagram, email, or the website, or you can just find the links on the YouTube description. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, AR Design. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna hit up the last subject of the day, as Elias mentioned. Rose FC held their first preseason training session today, and the Ball is Round was on the ground. So we've got first-hand impression, early takeaways, and plenty to talk about. So they opened up their second season today. We got obviously an inside look at their first practice. Did you see real progress from last year? It's just one practice, Elias. Obviously, we can't make a full analysis, but based on the little we saw, did you see some progress from last year, or does this squad still have some questions to be answered?
I mean, it's this is the first training camp session is always like a reintroduction. I think this team still needs to find its identity, at least tactically. I think from a cultural perspective, they're starting to kind of hammer down what kind of team, what kind of group, what kind of culture they want to have, which is a good thing. But tactically, with people like Evelyn Badu, people like Han Bin Choi, people like Elise Bennett, and people like Lisa Petrsky. Um, some big names, some very big profiles that you now have to incorporate into the team. So tactically, it's tough to say where their progress is because Evelyn Badu and um, Cherim Kang were on international break.
Hmm.
Hanbin Choi is nursing an injury and she'll be out for 2 weeks. So it's kind of tough to see where they'll fit and how they'll fit. So progress is not necessarily the right word, but let's say that the Tetris pieces have begun falling, and now it's Robert Rosatoy's job to kind of start to put them in the right spot.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's still there's still pieces missing, and because again, like you mentioned, international break. Um, but I still saw that there were a few pieces missing in general, that it feels like they need players there. And more specifically in the defense, in the back, there was we saw Julia Leas, we saw Lucy
Yeah,
Capadonna, Stephanie Hill. But what did we see today, Elias? That both of us kind of looked at each other.
a three back.
A three back. And we
Gasp.
asked Robert Russell to you, and I'll get right to that, right to what that we spoke to some of the players and staff when after the practice. But we asked them, we said, what we saw kind of you playing around a little bit with the tactics compared to last season, which is not something we saw. And what did he say? He said, I have nothing to hide. I do like to play this way. Just last year we weren't able to do it, and we're trying to see if maybe
Yeah.
this year we can.
I mean, last year they had Charlotte Bibo drop a bit deeper. So in possession, it was like a quasi three back with like a deep lying playmaker who's in between the two center backs. This looked like an actual three back, like a conventional one with actual wing backs. So I'd really love to see it unlock Haley Whitaker and Megan Sovey's more attacking side. We know how good Haley Whitaker is going forward. We know that sometimes defensively, that does leave gaps, and so if you're playing three back, it does kind of compensate for that. It also is going to force Megan Sauvé to be a bit more adventurous. When she was playing as a winger, she was fine, but when she's playing as a left back, she was a bit more conservative, right? She even admitted such in the press conference. She said it as much last year as well. So hopefully this kind of enables her if they do go through this route. Actually, whether or not they go through this route, I hope this season Megan Sauvé takes it upon herself to impose herself offensively more, right? Whether she's a left back, a left wing back, a left mid, however Robert Rosatoy wants to identify her as that left flank player. I hope she imposes herself even more this season because technically she's more than good enough to do it. And it provides so much more punch, regardless if they have a left winger out there or not, and regardless of you know who's in front of her.
Yeah, I really, if they decide to go the three back, I think it would be very fair because they did load up in the position of center back, so it
They
does
do.
allow for a big. But yesterday, I think this morning what we saw, they were playing a 10v10, if I'm not wrong, with one
Maybe
joker,
10 and a
right?
joker, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And they had a hard time kind of filling up because we saw a lot of extra midfielders, maybe midfielders that are really low in the depth charts, fill in that right back or left back, left center, third left center back or right center back position on either side. We saw, I believe, Mara Bouchard at some
And
point,
Felicia Roy, both of
Felicia
them.
Roy at some point, and they're not center backs. They're not built for that, but obviously they were filling in. So it's going to be very interesting. But the problem becomes, Elias, obviously, is what if there's injuries, and what if one of the
Yeah.
center backs go down? Are we really going to be putting a Felicia Roy or Charlotte Bibo as a center back, which Robert
No,
Russ
you
so you
have
can.
you have Olivia Mbala. That's who you have.
Yeah, exactly. So you
Right.
do have some depth, and it will be very interesting because they do have the profiles for it. That very interesting. I don't see Megan Sauvé necessarily thriving as a left back, as a left wing back. I'd rather have her as a left back. I think she plays. She's very very good at setting up a play and kind of shifting from defense to offense. But I don't think she can carry that much. Through I don't again, and that's a different scheme. But again, very interesting practice. Like you said, they even had some Bad Bunny playing at the beginning, which we were
Great.
jamming out to because it's a welcome back, right? Everybody's getting
Yeah.
to see each other in the field, and Robert Russell said it. So the players, they were kind of mad that the practice ended so early. They wanted to go on, but they have to be smart about it, right? So we also caught up with Robert Russell, Megan Sauvé, Lisa Petrsky, Marinette Pichon after practice. And what stood out for me from their interview? Were there any surprises? Maybe some key insights about the team's directions this season?
The one thing, and I asked Marine Pichon about this, was them not going out to get another left back or another fullback in general, right? Jody Smith is gone, Lara Shank is gone. You're effectively the only fullbacks on your team right now, natural fullbacks on your team are Haley Whitaker and Megan Sauvé. You are one minor inconvenience away from being forced to play people out of position. And so hopefully that doesn't happen. But again, this is the reality of soccer. People are going to get fatigued. People are going to get hurt. People are going to get overloaded. That's just the reality. It's impossible that you just never have any injuries in a season of soccer. And that was one of the things that kind of derailed their season last year was them getting some injuries, not having the depth to deal with it, and it's significantly affecting the entire team. It's spread, right? It kind of like rippled its way throughout the entire attack when Tanya Boychuk, when Nomi Baquet went down. So, you know, Megan Sauvé or Haley Whitaker get hurt, you don't have a replacement. You have people that can kind of play fullback. We saw Julia Elise do it. We saw Lucy Capadonna do it in a pinch. I think that someone like Nomi Baquet can also do the job well. But when you talk about the drop in quality, when you have one of them play out of position compared to what Megan Sauvé and Haley Whitaker can provide you, it's enormous.
Yeah, yeah,
So and again, remember, we're talking about Julia Lease, we're talking about even Olivia Mbala or other players. These are starting caliber players. So you're taking starting players out of that position, putting them somewhere else, and then you're putting, you know, another player in that position where they would have been. And I think that it's a very dangerous game. Marine Pichon didn't seem too concerned. She's kind of like, if we need to, we'll go get it. There's still a lot of run up to the end of the winter transfer window for the NSL. So if they need it, they still have, like a month and a half before the window closes, and then the summer window opens up relatively early. So it's not like they'll be, you know, cast out to sea for 3 months without any options, but they are kind of playing it fast and loose. Unless they're kind of just trying to throw us off and they've got one in the chamber. The second this show ends, they're going to announce the signing of a new fullback. That's
100%.
usually how it works, right?
Because we're their
But
lucky charm to bring
but
in.
but I do think that's one thing that I absolutely think needs to be addressed. And they didn't seem too rushed. Again, you don't want to kind of also like if you are actively pursuing fullbacks, you don't want to tip your hand, I guess. But that's probably the last thing on their shopping list for me, I think, is at least one fullback to have depth and security in that position and some competition in
Yeah.
that position.
Well, look, Marinette didn't show too much of her hand either. She doesn't have to, but she did kind of have us understand that this is not a complete squad. They're still working on some
Yeah.
profiles. They also addressed Ali Hess leaving. That apparently it's something that goes back to December, where they did try to convince her to stay, but unfortunately didn't work out that way. But they're very happy for her, and sounds like a better separation than Latifa Abdu's separation statement, where
Given that this
everybody's
was done somewhat consensually, I think, yeah.
yeah, and everybody seems to be a little bit mum about it, a little bit like let's not really talk about that situation anymore. But it happened, and the reason why I continue asking the question, Elias, is because it happened, and what are we doing to prevent it from happening again next season when you have a crucial player like Tanya Boychuk or a Noemi Paquin or even the player like Megan Sauvé, that is a very important player. What if all of a sudden issues come up in the middle of the season and they want to leave? So what? That's why I keep asking. I want to know what are they doing. But what some of the stuff that caught up to, like really caught my attention was we asked Robert Rossitoyu, what was the difference for him? It's his second off season. Last year was his first, first training camp. What was the difference between last year and this year? He said one thing. He said, "This year I can focus on soccer, on
Yeah.
football. I can focus on on just coaching. Last year we were talking about getting cones, setting ourselves up just as a soccer team, not even focus so much on the tactics on the field. Elias, that's huge to me.
Yeah.
Huge
No,
difference
it's
because
really good to hear.
mentally for the coach, you are literally checked in on the field. There is literally nothing. And in ideal world, in CF Montreal, in FC Supra, you want your coach to just coach. You don't want them to
Mhm.
worry about anything else going on outside of the outside of the field. So he literally told us that that was one of the biggest difference. As you mentioned, Marinette also mentioned a lot about like some of the failures that maybe happened last year that they're trying to address this year, so that doesn't happen again. One of the reporters also asked her, "Are you guys, by any chance, do you guys find it maybe a little bit more difficult to maybe like get players here to kind of buy into the project as opposed to last year?" Marinette quickly shut that down. She said no, and the players she said we received a lot of CVs over this offseason. A lot of people want to play for Roses FC. So what are we waiting for, Elias? If a lot of people are sending their CVs, let's get some signings because they need it. As you mentioned, there's some crucial
Yep.
positions. Speaking of crucial positions, Roses FC just made a first. They signed 16-year-old Marilou Harvey to a developmental contract that gives her limited first team action while keeping NCAA eligibility intact. Intact. Big move or just a formality? Like what does this say about the Rosa approach to building for the future? Because she's
This
16.
is
We saw her
huge.
practice. She's a big girl. She is.
Yeah,
You
for
wouldn't.
16, she's like 5'6", 5'7".
She fits
She,
right in.
I think it was Megan Sauvé who said like she was the fastest player doing the sprints, doing the 20-meter sprints or the 30-meter sprints.
She's impressive.
So no, that's very encouraging. But this program and this kind of contract is so important because
Yeah.
the North American
There's only
system,
two available per team, by the way.
the North American system has always been amateur soccer, maybe semi-professional soccer, then university, then maybe professional. That's always been the way. Meanwhile, in Europe, you have girls that are as young as 15, 16, 17, 18 that are immediately thrust into professional dynamics. They play for the academy, or they get called up to, a couple of them get called up to the first team to train, and they grow up in the professional setting. And then when they hit, 20 years old, they've been training with a professional team for 4 or 5 years, right? That's incredibly important. And what having this here, and again, I want to highlight the fact that it doesn't affect your NCAA eligibility is
Huge, yeah.
so important
Hmm.
because what these girls are doing now is they're going into NCAA, or they have the potential to go into NCAA environments having done, 2 or 3, maybe even 4 years of at the very least training, if not even playing with professional players and professional opposition, and being in a professional setting. This is huge for enabling the development of North American talent and Canadian talent specifically. Canada and the US have been, top dogs in women's soccer forever because Europe was not taking it as seriously. Do you see how quickly the second Europe started taking women's soccer seriously, how quickly they caught up to and in some cases surpassed Canada and the US? It took them 5 years, not even, before they said, "Oh shit, let's try this." And then all of a sudden, oh my God, they're leaps and bounds better. It's because they have the infrastructure and they have the culture already set up. They just had to pump a little more money into it and they had everything streamlined. So now this is kind of creating those opportunities for young players, and hopefully they get, a second player to come in and also participate, because again, you're a 16-year-old girl with a bunch of grown-ass women, right? It's also not the easiest thing to integrate. Again, they will integrate her and they'll make her feel welcome. But if you sign a second player, at least there's that age comfort where she has somebody else, and you can also again use that to your fullest. Use, the ability to recruit and hold on to promising young players to your fullest advantage. You find a second one in League One in Quebec that's been tearing it up or whatever, go ahead and bring them in because there's literally no downside to it. So this is a great initiative, and I'm happy that the Roses are taking advantage of it. I hope they bring in a second one because I genuinely can't think of a single bad reason not to do this. It's great.
100%. I think I think for the league, I don't know what other teams are applying it because we cover Rose FC. We don't cover other NSL teams. But as far as we know, this contract is, as I mentioned, there's two. Each team can use two, and it's based. I believe I have the technicalities. Just give me two seconds because I actually do want to read it to make sure that I give the right information. But it says youth development contracts are designed to provide young players between the ages of 16 and 18 with limited first team exposure in the NSL while protecting amateur and NCAA eligibility. Eligible players are allowed to appear in up to 4 matches per permit with a maximum of 2 permits per player. So again, it's a win-win situation
Yeah.
for both the club and the player. Whereas you mentioned, if we're talking about Lucy Capadonna, Tanya Boychuk, when they came on this show, one of the big things that stood out is their performance in university. It's how they made their names known and how that's how they got discovered. So, and I believe even Julia Leas went to university as well. So,
Yep.
it's big for Marilou to have that exposure, have those conversations in the locker room with these players where they can talk about how was your university experience? Is it worth staying here the long run, or is it better if I go that NCAA? And let's just be clear, Marilou signed a professional contract
Yeah.
with
This
the
is not
Roses
some
FC.
trial contract. This is
No,
an
she is not a
actual, real,
trialist.
honest to God contract. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So there's it's very exciting, especially for Quebec talents, for players that maybe are not making it with the Montreal Impact Academy, that can actually have a shot at playing in a professional environment and seeing the lifestyle of a professional soccer player. I think it's fantastic. And at 16, great age to do it.
Absolutely.
The younger the better.
Absolutely.
And I was going to mention, because you were saying how in Europe they struggled a lot. And Marinette Pichon will be the first one to talk to you about that, because she went through that struggle in Europe of not being taken seriously as a professional soccer player. So she had to come to the US. All right, that wraps it up. So before we sign off, though, this week the Ball is Round had the honor of hosting Roses FC head coach Robert Rusatoyu. We want you to watch the full interview for free on all of our social media channels. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, on Apple Music. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a beat this season. Because, Elias, we're going to have so many interviews this
There's
season.
so much. There's so much
We have
content
so
coming your way.
much
Yeah.
lined up for our listeners, because we know you
Hell
guys
yeah.
like it. We've heard it from the players. We've heard it from the listeners. They love the interviews. We love doing them. We learn about them because it makes them human. It makes them human. It makes you realize who the human is behind that player. So fantastic. What do you think, Elias? Just give us a quick impression. How was your sit down with Robert Rosatoy? You were the one that
He's
handled it.
wonderful. He's wonderful. We've spoken with him before in press conferences and personally, and obviously now in interview form. And he's always wonderful. He knows his shit. He's a guy that loves soccer, who more importantly loves women's soccer. He's ingrained in every single level of it, at the elite, in the elite space. And it's again, it's a guy that deeply respects the game. And frankly, I think it's an excellent um person, just as a personality. It's an excellent person to have at the beginning of your football club.
Absolutely. And you know what he said? He also said he listens to the show. So, thank you so much to everyone who joined us tonight. We hope you love the show. Do we hope they love the show? We know you love the show. As always, the Ball is
Oh,
Round is completely free to watch and listen on all of our platforms. Don't forget to follow us on all of our social media platforms. Plus, give a follow to my personal account as well as Eliza's personal account for your daily dose of hot takes, chaos, and maybe even a little bit of nonsense. A huge shout out to anyone and everyone who joined Patreon this week. You guys are. And for everyone who tuned in tonight, thanks for sticking with us. Make sure to join us next week for episode 252. We'll be talking CF Montreal's first game,
finally.
checking in on Roses FC, and giving you the lowdown on FC Supra du Québec. Trust us, you do not want to miss these takes. See you next week.